Welcome back, YouTube. I'm going to walk you entirely through the trimming out process of a window. First things first, we're going to be putting our bottom piece on that's going to support our ledge. This piece is the same piece that's going to be trimmed around the window. So the window trim is 3 1/4. So we make sure this goes at least 3 1/4 past the window. It is a 90-degree cut on both sides with a slight 35-degree angle just on the bottom portion of the colonial casing trim. We then have our finish nailer and we nail it in straight along so that it is level and flush with the bottom piece of the window. Now we pull out our stool. Our stool was also already cut to size. I have it 3/4 of an inch bigger than the base below it. And not only is it 3/4 of an inch bigger, a 3/4 of an inch bigger on each side, it is also notched out so it sits up perfectly even and flush against the window. Now where that meets the window, that will eventually be caulked. We then take our nail gun and we nail down into that base piece that we first put up. Now this is going to be filmed exactly as it was done in the exact 1x speed. Now it's time to reload our nail gun with 2-inch nails instead of the 2 1/4 we were using, or 2 1/2 we were using. The 2-inch is going to be for our jamb extensions. We're going to trim out the inside of the window with. We're going to be going with decorative jamb extensions, not your typical square jamb extensions. We have these pre-measured as well. You measure across the top and then you measure down each side, each leg of the window. You 45 both pieces of the top, and then you make sure it reaches fully end to end. You take out your nail gun and you tack it in a few places. Once this is done, you take out your right leg, you put it in, you butt it in all the way up, you make sure your 45 is right, and you nail it home. Now, as you can see, it's a very thin piece of wood and you don't want to shatter it, so you go with a smaller nail. We're just going to tack it in 3 places for now, and we're going to go over to the other side and we're going to install the other leg. Again, I've pre-cut this. Both sides of the legs were 37 inches and the top ended up being, I think it was 36 1/2. So again, we hammer those in with the nail gun, just a quick 3 to tack it. Next, it's time to do our trim that goes over the window. This is going to be the same 3 1/4 colonial casing. We have our marks. We want a 1/4 inch reveal all the way around our jamb extensions. That's going to match the reveal that's on the door that we're going to be installing in this room and all the other rooms we did as well. So we measure our 1/4 inch from the bottom of the trim up so that you can see what's going to be seen on the trim is going to be a full 1/4 inch of reveal. Next, we're going to take our tape after we mark it all the way around, and we're going to measure 3 1/4 inches from that edge. So that edge is a 1/4 inch off of it, and then we're going to go 3 1/4 from there. And we're going to make sure that we line up, our miters line up both on the top piece of the trim that we're installing right now and the jamb extensions. We're going to line up, make sure we have our 1/4 inch reveal, and make sure that we are 3 1/4 inches past so that it will catch our leg trim that is coming up. Now that we get that, we have our level on it. We'll make sure we're level. And the only reason I have my miter square here is just to make sure I'm catching my exact 3 1/4 coming down for my legs. Once I get it to a place I'm perfectly comfortable with, I realize I messed up on my cut and I need to trim a little bit off. I'm a little bit bigger than what would be seen. I'd have too big of a reveal on one side, so I could take it to my chop saw. I chop off that little bit, ends up being 1/8 of an inch. I was a little bit over, but that's why we measure twice, we mark twice, we cut before we sit there and nail up and have an issue. So once I get back with my piece, I'm going to recheck it once again just to make sure it's completely perfect. And once I get it all eyed up and I have it on my marks and I know it's good, then it's time to tack it up home. Same thing's going to happen again. I'm going to use just a few nails to tack it in. Now these are finished nails, so I'm going to do it in a thicker piece of the wood. I will come back later on and I will be using my brad nailer to nail it in the thinner pieces of the wood. The reason is the brad nailer is a thinner gauge. It's 18 gauge versus 16 gauge, and I just don't want it to crack the trim. Next thing up, it's time for my right leg side of the window. But first things first, I forgot to change my nails back to my 2.5 inch. I want my longer nails to be able to go through the thicker part of my wood. That's the only reason I'm doing this. I don't want it to crack the thinner part of the wood, but I want the thicker part of the wood to be driven home the same amount into the rock slash trim slash wood framing behind is what we're really trying to hit it in. So I'm going back over and I'm just putting a couple more nails that go 2.5 inch. Now it's time for my right leg. Now we're gonna see if my right leg lines up perfectly or if I have to trim a little bit off. And we're eyeing it up for size right now. And however much it sticks past the top, that's how much I know I need to take it back to the chop saw and chop it off. I tried having everything pre-cut to save it to make this video faster. And of course, when you estimate your pre-cuts, you're never exact, but you always want to err on the side of it being too long because you can always cut, but you cannot add back to your trim once you cut it off. So again, always figure a little bit long. You can always go back and trim it, no harm, no foul. Now that we cut that amount off, it's time to put it back up. We're gonna see how it squares up into the miter, see how it fits on our reveal, make sure we got our same 1/4 inch reveal all the way around, and it's time to tack it in. You'll notice that you need to tack in the left corner of the existing and the right corner to make sure that they're perfectly flush to each other. Sometimes one will pop out a little bit more than the other. You just have to adjust it by either hammering it home or you can stick a little pry bar beneath it, pry it out, and then nail it so that they are perfectly flushed. Once we get those two in, it's time to pull up our left leg and see how this fits. If I was a betting man, I'd bet this one might be a little off too, but maybe it's not. You never know. We will see. And what do we know it? It's the same 1/8 of an inch off on this one as well. I'll take it back to the chop saw, cut it, bang, bang, boom, come back, and we can nail it in. No harm, no foul. This is a 100% live view, you guys. Like we got it down. It's about an 8-minute process, start to finish, to sit here and trim out an entire window. That's really not bad. That's a good number, especially if you're gonna be trimming out all the windows in a home in a given day. Now, we line it back up, same thing, make sure we got our 1/4 inch reveal all the way around, bang, bang, boom, we nail it in. We come back, we take a look, we make sure everything's good. Then we get our brad nailer and we nail the thinner piece of the trim. That piece will be nailed into the jam extension or right around the jam extension to make sure it's flush. Then we will caulk in all the nail holes, caulk in everything. And then after that, we will be painting with a white semi-gloss paint. That's what you use for trim. And as soon as we're done with that, we'll be back with a finished look. And here's our finished completed window, guys. All in under 8 minutes. Thanks for watching.